Hi, we are back with episode 3 of Makeup and Motorsport. The Miami Grand Prix is later today. It's late at night for me. I'm not gonna watch it live. I'm gonna watch it after the fact. So in the spirit of the Miami Grand Prix, we are going to try the sunset blush trend, because you know, Miami, tropical, sunset, also the V-carb livery. It's also like really like tropical and multicolor, and it makes me think of like tutti frutti popsicles. So I think that the sunset blush trend kind of fits here. I'm gonna try it with cream products, whereas I've seen it with liquid products in most videos that I've seen it. And then I'm gonna share with you a couple of my thoughts on the Miami Grand Prix overall, because just like the way that trends are right now, like I feel in many ways like the Miami Grand Prix is Formula One trying to make fetch happen. It's not gonna happen, Gretchen. It's not gonna happen. I mean, it will because they have a 10-year contract, but like as far as like people getting behind it, I don't know about that. So we'll talk about that, but also we will be touching on F1 Academy, which is the female-only feeder series of F1. It is sponsored by F1 Management, like the same company that does the Formula One Championship. So it's kind of a big deal. They've also announced a deal with Netflix. So F1 Academy is gonna have its own docuseries in the same vein as Drive to Survive. We're gonna talk about that too. And we are also gonna talk about the makeup partner of F1 Academy, at least like the makeup title sponsor of F1 Academy, which is Charlotte Tilbury. And we're gonna be featuring a couple of Charlotte Tilbury products for my look today. If any of this is of interest to you, I will have timestamps on each of the topics so that you can go to the part of the video that you're most interested in if you're only here for one thing or the other. But without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so first of all, I need to clarify that I look and sound rather raggedy because I've been a bit under the weather in the last couple of days. I don't react well to changes in temperature, and we had a massive storm last week over here. So my throat and my chest, my asthma are feeling it. So I am on the mend. It's funny because I was sick with very similar symptoms last year towards the end of the school year, like almost at this exact same date, which is like, oh boy. So, you know, the last month of the school year is coming up. So I'm trying to make sure that I'm good and I'm actually resting and taking care of myself, so that I can actually finish the year strong, because it does get really busy. Deadlines are pretty short, like you're still trying to teach, but you're also like doing end of year evaluations. I had my evaluation for my performance review last week. I have to finish like my self-reflection for that. Like it's a lot. It's a lot. So I need to make sure that I'm taking care of myself. I'm just like quickly doing my eyebrows here. At least like trying to like put them in place a little bit. Benefit Gimme Brow, nothing to see here. We all know, whatever. Okay, so let's get started with the face. Sorry, let me just pause for a second and find something to tie my hair. So as you would expect, the Miami Grand Prix at this time of the year, like it's pretty hot, and you know, it's pretty hot. So it's to be expected that the looks that you see, for example, of some of the female attendants are like really light. You know, I've seen a lot of like short skirts, a little bit of that tennis aesthetic that is going around right now. You know, shorts, sundresses, just really light fabrics and all of that stuff. And of course, you know, a lot of like bronzy looks. So that's where we're gonna start with the complexion. What I'm gonna do is mix the Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood Flawless Filter in 6.5 Deep with my Tower 28 Sunny Days sunscreen in Silver Lake. And the hope is that they could kind of create a little bit of a more bronzy complexion as a base, because I think that it's fair to say that the sunset blush trend kind of, it makes sense with a bronzed complexion. We're not gonna be using bronzer. We're just gonna kind of provide a bronzy base, a little bit of a bronzy base, just to unify the complexion that way. And then we're gonna go in with the blush, but there will be no bronzer. It's just gonna be a really luminous blush. Usually what people do is that they combine a pink blush with an orange or coral blush and a gold highlighter. And that's exactly what we're gonna do today. This could probably be more bronzy, but I'm pretty happy with that. As far as the complexion goes, I will add a little bit of concealer just because, again, I've been sick and my under eyes are showing it. Hourglass concealer. We're also going for a light coverage because, again, if you're gonna be on a track that is hot and humid like Miami, you don't want your complexion to just like completely melt off your face and like Teresa's Dead says, like you end up looking like a candle towards the end of the day. I would probably also say it's not a bad idea to set with powder, a mattifying powder, and set with spray, a refreshing hydrating spray that still sets. So something like MAC Fix Plus, Benefit the Professional, Milk Hydro Grip, Urban Decay All Nighter, you know, all of those guys. I would say maybe also Tower 28 SOS, which is gonna give you like a little bit of protection or like help to fight irritation and that sort of thing. So again, like just slightly bronzed, not too crazy. The Miami Grand Prix has been going on for 3 years. Like this is the 3rd year that it happens. So it's matched the ground effect regulations that started in 2022. I'm just applying a little bit of Balm.com from Glossier to my lips as a little bit of a lip prep treatment because, again, I'm sick and my lips need help. Even though I've been wearing sleep masks for my lips, I've been wearing my Laneige like usual, but your lips go through stuff when you are sick. Anyways, so I told you in my previous video, my video about Kaleidos and Zhou Guanyu, that I don't like the Miami Grand Prix, but it's not about the racing. Actually, that's not true. It is a little bit about the racing. The sprint race was yesterday, and quite frankly, it was a snooze fest. The highlight of it was Daniel Ricciardo in 4th. Other than that, it was pretty uneventful and just downright boring. And every year, the race has been just downright boring. It's, you know, Max Verstappen and his 19 tail followers, whatever. It's just not... I feel like the circuit has potential. I'll give it that. Like, it's not horrible. It's a low grip circuit, so it represents a different challenge for the cars. And it has a lot of corners, but still, like, it's really difficult to overtake. It's a street circuit, and the streets of Miami, I don't think are in the best shape in the world. So it's really tough on the cars. And the drivers have spoken about that before, that they don't like how harsh the circuit is on the cars. And of course, we've seen what happens in street circuits before where like the cars suffer a lot of damage. But, you know, in between being difficult to overtake, low grip, a lot of corners, where it's just like, it's just not a good circuit. I mean, every year, like the race has been pretty much the same. Max Verstappen sails into the sunset and nobody can do anything else. Like not even like the battles for the rest of the podium are compelling at all. It's just, ugh. And then of course, like I agree with like some of the more gatekeeper older fans where like they disagree with all the pomp and circumstance around Miami, and I agree. I feel like in many ways it's like a race for like just for people to go and be seen, and it's more like around the things that are happening about the race and not really the racing itself. The drivers have complained about like all the things that they have to do before the race. I really hope that they don't do that whole introduction thing with the cheerleaders again. That was so cringe last year. It was awful, and it was clear that the drivers hated it. And yeah, I understand that with every job there are things that you have to do that you don't want to do. Like it happens all the time. It happens with every job. But, you know, some of the drivers pointed last year, like, we shouldn't be doing this 30 minutes before getting into the car. Like, we want to be, like, zoning in and focusing and all of that stuff. So, I mean, the race is in there. It's, you know, it's a race that is, like, very closely sponsored and pushed by FOM. So I feel like there's not a lot of recourse that people have, and it is locked into a 10-year contract. So, I mean, I don't see it going away anytime soon, unfortunately. I mean, I'm just saying this because, like, one, I do think that there are other tracks that are better. I wish that instead of pushing for so many races in the US, FOM would have like bought back the concept or like bought the licensing or whatever it is that they had to do to bring the European Grand Prix back and then rotate through circuits in Europe so that you could have, again, circuits that are really, really good come back into the calendar, and then things can rotate a little bit more, as opposed to like Miami, Las Vegas. Like, Las Vegas proved to be good racing last year, not gonna lie. That was a good race. Miami, I'm sorry, I can't get behind it. I watch it because I watch all of them, but like, I'm not staying up late to watch it, absolutely not. And I just don't think that it leads to good racing. I'm sorry, it just doesn't. At least it hasn't so far. I mean, I'm happy to eat crow later when there's a good race, if it ever happens, but for now, I don't like it. The drivers don't particularly seem to like it. The rest of the fans don't seem to like it. It seems like something that is like just some people trying to make fetch happen, if that makes any sense. So I don't know, it is what it is. I think that some things, you know, some people get behind, and others it's just like, okay, let's just suffer through this and go to better circuits later on. But also, like, with how expensive it is, you know, like my husband was showing me a picture of like some of the pictures of the menu prices that have been circulating on Reddit. It's outrageous. It's outrageous. And I mean, I feel like it's one of those things that makes Formula One seem out of touch, and like the new ownership seem out of touch with what people are really hoping for. And like, yeah, I understand that you want to go for the American market, but a lot of Americans can't afford any of that. So like, who is that really for? You know what I mean? So let's get into the sunset blush thing. Again, most videos that I've seen for this trend have been with liquid blushes. I don't have liquid blushes. I only have creams. I do have a liquid highlighter that I will use. So most of the time you have an orange or red blush. So I'm gonna be using my nude sticks in Picante. What I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna lay them all down in my hand, kind of mix them together, and then, whoops, and then take it from there. Wish me luck. Then I'm also gonna use, then you use like a pink, like a bright pink. I'm gonna be using my Tower 28 in Happy Hour. And then I'm just gonna lay it on the side so that you can see both colors together, right? Like this. Let me just make sure that I have like an even-ish ratio of both of those colors. And then there usually goes a gold highlighter. We're gonna be using Charlotte Tilbury Spotlight. I just need to open my component. Okay, let's open my component. This component is getting old, so I have to be careful that I don't like get a ton of product out and make a huge mess in my hand. So these are the three shades that I've seen kind of in the sunset blush trend. So I'm just gonna mix them together in my hand. And then, you know, see what happens. See, like I feel, so this is what it looks like. It still looks quite pink in my opinion. So I'm gonna add a little bit more of Charlotte Tilbury Spotlight. So while I do that, let's talk about Charlotte Tilbury and F1 Academy. So F1 Academy is the female feeder series for Formula One. So if you're thinking about like the ladder to get into Formula One, you'd have like in previous years, you would have had Formula 4, 3, 2, 1, and then kind of on the side, other championships like Formula Renault, which is now FRECA, Formula Regional European Championship. And so like F1 Academy, it's like a more specific, conscious effort of FOM to help promote opportunities for young women in motorsport, right? Okay, so let's apply this sunset blush thing. Let's see. I mean, I think it's pretty. It's pretty. I'm probably gonna apply a little bit of highlighter on top of it still, like some gold. Surprisingly, I feel like this is a lot more modulable than I thought it was gonna be. And this side, I think I don't know. I think that I should have added maybe a little bit more orange. I'll try more Picante on the other side and see if it looks different. But look at this, it looks really natural. Like, it really does look, I'm gonna do like the whole sunburn thing. I know that that's like not part of the trend, but I actually think it looks pretty cute. There we go. Yeah, I like this. I like this. Okay, so I'm just gonna be mixing the rest for my other side. Again, I'm gonna add a little bit more of the picante shade so that I can make it more orange on the other side and tell you a little bit more about F1 Academy and the whole Charlotte Tilbury thing. So F1 Academy is like a female only series. That is not a thing. Other series, you know, in theory are co-ed, but over the years, women in motorsport have struggled to get chances and to get spots, to get sponsorships, etc. And so, of course, people want to see that changing, want to see a little bit more of opportunity opening up. So a few years ago, there was another series called the W Series, and that lasted for 3 seasons. It folded because of lack of sponsors. They ran out of money. And I'll make a separate video another day to talk about what happened with the W Series. But if you want the gist of it, I recommend watching Josh Revel's video on what the F happened to the W Series. I'll link it in the description box if you want to know what happened with that failed attempt and, you know, Josh's theory on, you know, some of the things that maybe were not ideal in that situation. I went a little heavy on this side, so I'm gonna have to correct with powder because it's a little heavy, but this is how it looks like. I mean, I personally don't love the whole naming things for like cutesy names. Like, I really don't think that there's a need to actually name this the sunset blush trend. Like, it's just a mix of, you know, kind of tropically blushy colors. Very spring appropriate, very summer appropriate. I definitely look like I'm sunburned now. I'll apply a little bit of powder in a minute and just like take this down a notch. So this year is the 2nd season of F1 Academy, and this weekend in Miami is round 2. Round 1 was in Saudi Arabia. So one of the things that make F1 Academy different is that the teams that are on the F1 grid have to field a driver. And some of those drivers are like part of their driver academies, like part of their development programs. So for example, Dorian Pin, who is like pretty high on the standings, I think she's in the top 3, is a Mercedes Academy driver. Abby, oh my God, I'm forgetting Abby's last name. But she's on pole position for the 2 races in Miami. Abby, I just forgot her last name. Abby is an Alpine Academy driver, and Bianca Bustamante, which was a race winner last year, is a McLaren development driver. So every team on the F1 grid has to field a driver, and you have some of the same teams that field cars in other feeder series like F2. So like, for example, Charlotte Tilbury has a livery on the car from Rodin Motorsport, which is also an F2 team. They also field a car in F1 Academy. The other cool thing that they do is that in every location, they have a wildcard driver that is a local driver. So for round 1 in Jeddah, it was a Saudi female driver, and for round 2 in Miami, it's an American driver, which I think is really cool. And then the other thing that has happened is that, you know, the series has attracted more sponsorship, including beauty brands. So Charlotte Tilbury sponsors the entire series. So she's an F1 Academy sponsor, and it's Charlotte Tilbury is the first female founded brand to sponsor the series, which is kind of huge. And I've actually seen some little clips on social media of the girls using the products and all of that, getting ready before races or media day and that sort of thing. And I think that's great. And then you also have ABH also sponsors Bianca Bustamante specifically. But here's the reason why I think that's so important. Number 1, it is a global brand that is very heavily recognized and is doing really, really well. I mean, there's a reason why everyone and their mom wants to dupe Charlotte Tilbury, okay? So when you see a brand of that reach and that relevance sponsoring a small motorsport series, you know, obviously the brand sees value in it. I mean, Charlotte Tilbury has investors, she has like shareholders, so like she has to think about like making sure that the brand is in a place that, I'm just gonna apply a little bit more of Charlotte Tilbury spotlight. So they have to make sure that the brand is sponsoring things that are like relevant and make sense for the brand, etc. So clearly they see the value in participating or getting, you know, getting in on the ground floor on a female motorsports series that is like backed by F1, especially at the moment of popularity that Formula One is. That's good. But also think about the Charlotte Tilbury aesthetic, you know, old Hollywood, glamour, super feminine, beautiful, supermodel, film star, you know, very fabulous, right? And that doesn't fit a lot with the female racer stereotype. So I love the fact that a brand that relies so much on like that hyper feminine, glamorous aesthetic is sponsoring a racing series, because it does reinforce that message of no, we don't have to compromise. We can be both. Women are multidimensional beings, and yes, you can be a super fast, super efficient driver. You can be a competitive racing driver and have your Hollywood glow. You show them, girl. You can do both. There's nothing wrong with that. And you know, as someone who's always been a sports fan, and you know, at times was told like, oh, you can't know more than the boys about sports because you're gonna intimidate them and all of that stuff. I love to see this. I love to see a brand like Charlotte Tilbury, you know, going into a field where women are trying to change things and are really trying to bring a different speed to the conversation and just do something different. And of course, you know, now Charlotte Tilbury gets to say that she's the trailblazer, right? Of, you know, these female founded brands sponsoring women in motorsport, which I think is awesome. Okay, so I love it. When I saw it, I was like, awesome, this is great. Because, you know, maybe you know Formula One and you don't know Charlotte Tilbury. Maybe you know Charlotte Tilbury and you don't know F1. Okay, so like it's a nice way to bridge these two things to different publics, different audiences. Like, maybe some people don't know that there's a female series of Formula One, but they're like, oh, Charlotte Tilbury car? Like, I want to see the car with the lipsticks, right? Or, you know, I just want to see what it looks like to be, you know, a young woman in the public eye in a very competitive sport, and you know, doing all of these things. Let's add some eye color. I think I'm gonna do one eye with a single shadow and then another eye with an eyeshadow palette. For the single shadow, I'm gonna use my Rituel de Fille Love Spell, which is, you know, that warm copper. Again, makes sense for the theming of this. Easy peasy. And then on the other eye, we're gonna go with my broken record Natasha Denona Zendo because it has very sunsetty colors. But of course, if you had Natasha Denona Sunset, you know, thank you, Captain Obvious, but that would be a choice that made some sense. Anyways, I do love the fact that, you know, a brand that is so big and so visible in, you know, the female beauty space, like Charlotte Tilbury, is part of F1 Academy. But then the other big thing that happened with F1 Academy is that they're gonna get like their own Drive to Survive. Netflix and F1 announced that F1 Academy is gonna have its own docuseries, just based on the series itself, and it's gonna be also produced by a female-owned company. It's gonna be produced by Reese Witherspoon's production company, Hello Sunshine. They've done shows like The Morning Show. They did Big Little Lies on HBO. They did a movie for Where the Crawdads Sing. They're also doing the movie for that Colleen Hoover book, It Ends With Us. I think Blake Lively's on that movie. So like very female-oriented projects. Reese Witherspoon has always spoken about that, and like, you know, founding her company to make the projects that she wants to make. I'm gonna be using basically two shades of Natasha Denona Zendo, Calm, which is my big ass pan, and Aura on this eye. So one eye with a single eyeshadow and the other one with a little bit more, just to kind of pair things up. Anyways, I do think that it could be positive for F1 Academy to like have this much exposure, you know, big beauty brand sponsoring it, leading production company that has made pretty popular shows, putting them on Netflix. I think that it could be cool. I hope that, you know, these girls have like the appropriate support for all of this exposure and all of that stuff, because some of these girls are like young. Some of them are like even under 18. So I hope that, you know, for their sake, they're getting the support that they need, especially if they're gonna be like in a reality show style kind of production on Netflix. Because unfortunately with exposure, unkind people intensify. So, you know, I hope that F1 Academy, like the organization, is taking the appropriate care of them. I have no doubt that that will happen, because the managing director of F1 Academy is Susie Wolf, and Susie Wolf is incredibly passionate about ensuring that women get the opportunities that they deserve in motorsport, and, you know, just creating more of those opportunities, which, and I mean, she is a proven racing driver. She's a proven team principal. Like, I don't know that there's anyone better in the motorsport space to lead F1 Academy than Susie. So I'm really glad that it's her. Sorry, I'm just trying to debate whether I'm gonna add like eyeliner or anything like that. I don't think eyeliner. Mascara, probably. Yeah, let's add some mascara, because let's do mascara. It's wash day, so my hair is air drying, so it's definitely not at like its best in terms of like shape or anything like that. I'm not gonna go with a super intense lash. As you can see, the eyes are very different, because one has a shade that is like a little bit closer to what the blush is, and then the other one is like pulling the copper. So you're gonna get a different reflection of the sunset blush depending on the color of eyeshadow that you use. I'm just gonna use mascara that is not too intense, something that is just wispy. In this case, it's gonna be the Tartelette Tubing Mascara. The other thing about F1 Academy, and it was a point of criticism last year, was that none of the races were televised and people couldn't follow. And it's like, okay, how are you supposed to like, you know, give your support for this if we can't watch it anywhere or follow it anywhere? And so this year, all the races for F1 Academy, and on each racing weekend, there are 2. All of those are gonna be in the F1 Academy YouTube channel. So I'm gonna leave it in the description box so that you can subscribe and follow along. If the races are gonna be live on YouTube, that means that if you can't watch them live, then you can just go catch them after the fact, which is what I'm gonna be doing, because I'm not staying up until 11 p.m., which is the time that the race would be in my time zone. Simply because A, I'm sick and I need to make sure that my sleep is regular so that I can recover. And B, because I just don't like Miami and I'm not giving it my bedtime. But that's just me. That is just me. Some of the F1 teams brought upgrades to Miami. I don't know that those upgrades are gonna mean anything for them in terms of like actually helping them on this track. We're gonna finish with a lip oil. In this case, I'm gonna be using the e.l.f. Glow Reviver Lip Oil in Coral Fixation. Yeah, I don't know that upgrades are gonna mean anything for anyone here in Miami. Ooh, this noise. It's just a tricky circuit in my opinion. Max Verstappen complains about his car every single year and then wins by a million seconds. So it's like, what gives? Good Lord, what gives? What gives? This is a completed look. This is my take on the sunset blush trend. I don't mind this. I don't mind this. I mean, obviously I would do like the same eye, whatever I choose, but I don't mind this. I really don't mind this. It's a really pretty easy look. Yeah, I don't mind it. I would do either one of these eyes. And this is like 2 shades of eyeshadow, nothing else. This is 1 single shadow. So it really depends on the direction that you want to take it, since the blushes that we use have kind of like undertones that kind of match both of these. So it's gonna be up to you, but I actually think that this would be like very race day appropriate, very Miami appropriate. Not too crazy. The weather is getting nicer in a lot of places, so maybe this is something that you do for like an easy weekend look. I think it could also work. So let me know what you think about my take on the sunset blush trend using creams because again, I've only seen people use liquids, like all liquid blushes, but I don't own any liquid blushes, okay? I have a liquid highlighter, that's all I can give you. Also, your opinion on the Miami Grand Prix. If you watch Formula One, do you love the track? Do you hate the track? What did you think about the sprint? What do you think about what happened to Daniel Ricciardo? Like, fourth on the sprint and then nowhere to be found in Grand Prix qualifying. This track is infuriating. I find it infuriating, and I'm sure the drivers do too, because it's just tricky to manage. And again, like the off-track stuff, it's F1 trying to make fetch happen. No. F1 Academy, are you gonna watch? Are you interested in watching female racing? I mean, these are very young girls. The cars are obviously not as fast as Formula One. I think that it's Formula 4 kind of spec cars. Everybody gets the same car. Like the specs of the cars are exactly the same. So they're all kind of competing on an even playing field, which can allow you to like assess better whether the girls are, you know, whether they're high caliber drivers or not. And I think that a positive precedent is that the champion of last year, Marta Garcia, is racing in FRECA, which is like a higher level of a feeder series. So, you know, she got the opportunity, she got the door open. I don't know if that's an agreement that like the champion of F1 Academy immediately goes to FRECA, or if that was just that Marta got the sponsorship. I'll put a pinned comment on how exactly did she get into FRECA. Was it that like she actually just got the seat, or is it an agreement that like the champion of F1 Academy will move up? Because in previous attempts, again, the W Series, that was one of the challenges, was that the champion of the W Series couldn't move to another series. So she was kind of stuck there. She's now in Indy Next. Her name is Jamie Chadwick. If you watch Indy Next, maybe you should check her out. She's also a Williams development driver. Anyways, lots to unpack in Miami. It is a very busy race. It is a very hectic race. There's a lot to look into, a lot to look over. So if you are keen to watch some racing this weekend, F1 Academy is on. You can watch the race on the F1 Academy YouTube channel. I'll leave it linked in the description box. And then the Miami Grand Prix is gonna be later today. It's Sunday. And you can catch that like on, I think it's on ESPN in the US, Sky Sports in Europe. If you have F1 TV, you can watch on demand, which is what I'm gonna do because I'm not staying up for that. I'm not staying up for it. Thank you once again for joining me and keeping it cute in the comments. This is, not gonna lie, I'm a little scared to do this still, like, ooh. I don't know how this is gonna go, but it's just me trying to kind of combine interests and, you know, approach female fans of motorsport, specifically Formula One, and I'm gonna try to speak more and more about F1 Academy the more I learn about it. So if any of this sounds good to you, if you liked the makeup look or you didn't know about F1 Academy and now you're happy to know that there are female racers out there in their own little series, please consider giving this video a thumbs up. I don't know if I'm gonna make a makeup and motorsport video for the next race, which is gonna be in Imola. Anyways, we're gonna close it here. I hope you like the look. I hope you like the ramble. I hope that I don't have to rant very often, but I might, because I have a lot of opinions about F1. So again, thank you for joining me in this particular series in my channel on makeup and motorsport, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.